Taith da, Obi Nakan. Welcome to podcast number 196 from a cold, blustery winter's day in June. 'Tis hellish, I tell you. We did go up show last week, Royal Cornwall show. We went up on Friday. Normally, lately, last few years, I've been going up by myself. I might have said before, the rest of my family, they get fed up with me because I walk very short distances and stop talking. But Daisy said she'd like to come up and bring Lenny, our youngest grandson, up to the show. So we went up and we had a fantastic time. It was Lenny's first show. Obviously, he was only born in December. I did say to James and Gemma about their oldest two grandsons going up. But of course, where Lenny can sit in a pushchair, they pair would have to walk around all day. And they're a little bit young at the minute to be walking that far, I think. But we had a brilliant day. I think we got caught in a heavy shower once, but on the whole, it was a good day. I thought it was a bit quieter than previous years, but then again, the forecast it was changeable, so that might have affected things. But I was glad we went up, to be honest, because Saturday, the weather was terrible. And there was a weather warning come in. We had friends that was actually staying up the show Friday night, going into Saturday. And I know some of them said, come 2:00 in the morning, they were staying in a tent and they got dressed because they thought they were going to have to make a quick exit. And then the show made the decision, I think it was 8:00 Saturday morning, that it would be cancelled, which is a rare, very, very rare event. So very sad because so much work goes into the show and so many people look forward to going. So, yeah, very sad. But I think, it was brave and rough up there during the night and that. And of course, insurance and everything, I don't know if that comes into it. But, yeah, you can't take any risks, really. But anyway, we went on Friday and then Saturday for the second weekend running, I went up to England and up to London again for the second weekend running. I went with my mate, Harry. And now, Harry's a funeral director. He's in Lansing now. His mother, Denise, is in Bude. So they've got their businesses there. And the two of us went up to watch Cornwall in the county championship final. And to his proper. I think we left about, what time did I leave here? 9:30, I think. Because the kickoff wasn't until 5:00, which was a bit late for a kickoff. But we got up for about 3:00, so we headed straight for the Cabbage Patch pub, which we like to go to. Met up with loads of Cornish there. And of course, there was a few Padstow boys there as well, because Herbie Stupple from Padstow was playing for Cornwall. So it was brilliant to meet up with everybody, have a bit of a sing-song and that. And then over to Twickenham. And like I say, Cornwall was playing Lancashire, or as the man on the PA said to start off with, Lancaster. I think he got corrected about that. But Cornwall won, and it was brilliant. And Herbie, he had a fantastic match. He's a machine, that chap. He really is. So that was brilliant. We had a few photos done afterwards. And then back home again. And we was home. Well, I got home here about 12:15, I think, past midnight, something like that. So it was a good day out anyway. And then we was out Sunday as well. It was my father-in-law's, little family party, really, for his 80th birthday. And that was at the Pickwick, which is, just the other side of St. Izzy. So it was just a small family event. I meant to take photos, but, I forgot, and nobody else even thought about it. Looking back, in fact, there was only one photo took that day. Now, Eddie and Jenny, they run the Pickwick. They're good friends of us. They're a lovely pair they are. And Jenny come in with Mark. Now, Mark is somebody I've known for a few years now. We end up going gigs, the same gigs together. We've got very much the same taste in music. And one of the artists we love is Frank Turner. Now, Jenny wrote Mark in. I don't know if she knew that I know Northern or no, I'm not too sure. But she said, you've got to come in here. The Undertakers are in here. And of course, Mark was wearing a T-shirt, and all it said on the T-shirt was "Not dead yet, not dead yet." So I had a photo done with them, which of course a lot of people would find funny, having that stood next to Undertaker. But of course, on the other side, all of you Frank Turner fans will know that's one of his songs, "Not Dead Yet." So it was a beauty to see Mark there, and also obviously Eddie and Jenny. But we had a lovely few hours there, actually. It went really well. And then back to reality on Monday. Another busy week with our staff going out here, there, and everywhere, either as bearers or our cars hired out, private funerals as well. And also, one of the funerals we had this week was Donald's funeral from Bodmin. And what a big funeral that was. Now, Donald, I've known him for years. Worked for Cormac for such a long time, I think, till he had to take early retirement for health reasons. But it was a lovely turnout. It really was. And I'll say, lived there in Bodmin, and on the way to the crematorium, we did give him one last tour in around the Cormac yard. So, but what a turnout. 'Twas proper. I say we have had quite a few private funerals this week. So if it is private, I never really mention names or anything at all. But we did have a memorial service on Wednesday. And you would have seen, I did put photos on the Facebook page. Now, this was for Phil. I've known Phil and his family for such a long time, such a lovely family. They really are. And you would have seen in the news how tragically and how sadly that Phil did pass away. So we had a private cremation, but then we had a service for celebrating his life. It was a little bit different. In fact, it was very different because we actually held it in Padstow Social Club. And the thing was, the family said, we want to announce bright clothes and men, please wear shorts. So, you will have seen the photo. I did put a photo up of us there just before we went down. It was Mabon, Neil, Claire and me. And then I did take a photo inside Padstow Social Club. And it was brilliant. It really was brilliant. He would have loved it. I'm sure he would have loved it. It was such a relaxed atmosphere. And it got to about 2:45. The service was 3:30. I thought, it'd be more than this. And then from about 3:00 on, people just started streaming in. And, it was packed, absolutely packed. And I know that he would have loved it. And I think Marion, she did the service, and she did say a thing there. Was it something like, not all heroes wear capes? And he was a hero, and very much loved and thought of in Padstow and, further afield, because there's a few come down from England just to be there with us on Wednesday. And then today, we had another big Padstow funeral today. This was straight at Glyn Valley, and this was Dave's funeral, or Di, as he was well known here in the town there at Padstow. And fantastic crowd again. I say we only did his wife Annette's funeral 6-8 weeks ago, something like that. And what a fantastic turnout. And obviously Dave had been involved with the Red Oss, the old Oss, for such a long time. He was the secretary. And so there was a very good representation from the old Oss there today. And I felt sorry for everyone because the weather was terrible. And obviously there were so many standing outside. But it was a lovely send-off again for Dave. Such a well-liked chap. And Padstow really had a terrible hit this last 6 months or so. So many locals have gone. Really sad. And another funeral, actually, we had there in the afternoon today was Jane's funeral. And the weird thing is, both Dave and Jane had the same surname, but they wouldn't relate it. And we had a lovely turnout for that too. Really did. So I think that's about it, really. I won't go on too much longer, because I know you'd like to listen to the final part of Barney. And we've had some brilliant response again, listening to Barney's interview over the last 3 weeks. So we got part 4 today, the final part. So we'll go over to Barney now, and then directly I'll come back with me Cornish word of the week and me Cornish dialect. So, here it is.
Well, then everybody, all the boys said, "Oh, I'm going to cut grass." Everybody said, "They said, won't be a blade of grass left in Cornwall," because everybody's going to go off and cut grass. That was what they was going to do when they left work. I left the tanker one day, was back in the next day driving a dozer for Idrex, because they were outside our company. So I didn't really leave in a way. I was on landscaping with a dozer for quite a while, and in between that, because Al left, he didn't do much there. He went on with Morley. He was already digging graves with Morley before that. So, come the end of the 2007, Al said, "You come and give me a hand at grave dig one." I said, "Yeah, I'll do that." Because we was all saying, "I'm going to work for Al. I'm going to work for Al to grave dig." So I did. And I used to drive a dozer because there was a zero contract. You only work when you wanted to work or when they wanted you.
Yeah.
If they didn't want you tomorrow, they don't, we didn't work. That was fine. Well, I used to go through graves, and then it got busier. We got busier and busier and busier. And I was doing more grave digging, and in the end, I just gave up the playworks. I carried on now for 15 years, 16 years, full time. And we got busier and busier. I always was digging the grave. I always try to do my best for every grave. Whenever I do it, I'm doing the best job I can possibly do. And when we leave it, we like to think there's nothing out of place. Yeah. Because when we first started, we thought, well, we're doing what we think we're doing, right? But we don't know, because we don't know how everybody else did. But when we went around different places, we thought, we're on top of the job here. We're all right. We ain't doing very bad here, really. We're all right. So, well, then he took on Salt Ass, and we was flat out all the time. And I said, "What are you going to go up there for?" I said, "We got enough to do now. We can't cope with what we got now." "Oh, wow, we went up for him. And it was all triple graves up there. And then we didn't know what the ground was like. It was all rock, and oh, what a nightmare up there. But it got better as we worked our way back, but still rocky old ground, right? But done that, we did manage to cope with it. At one point when we was that busy, I can't remember what years it was, totally unusual for me to dig 5 graves in a day. Because we was that busy, we just had to, we just had to keep digging them, that's the way it went. You get spells where we went years, never when we didn't have a grave a week. If we did, we had lots of graves a week, but if it got a bit quiet, there was always one grave, at least one grave, Yeah. So went on, done that, and I dug a couple last year. I mean, I could dig a grave tomorrow if I was really stuck. I would do it. I used to enjoy that. I really did. And we both used to say, especially summertime, didn't say good in the winter, a bit wet and cold and whatever, but that go with the job. But we used to say, I wish we could have done this 20 years, 30 years ago, because we would have loved that. We did. And it wasn't like a job. No. We used to go up in the mornings and we would go off to do our digging and whatever and backfilling and whatever, and we used to love it. It was just like, it wasn't a job, if you know what I mean. Yeah. We've had a few ups, and there was one incident. Well, as you know, we would be bearer for different undertakers. They knew we was there standing by, so we would put on our suits and we'd be a bearer. For Bob Chudley down in Calliste, went in and got the grave all dressed up ready. Well, clothes on, changed into our suits now, down in the grave, in the cemetery way. And anyway, we carried the coffin, he'd done all that, right? Everybody, because you could see them all walk up, fair way across it out, and then gone, right? Then walk on. So me and Al now stripped off our suits. We had a coat hanger on up in the tree with his seat there. Stripped off now underpants, putting our old working clothes on, and looked around, there's a couple coming looked in the cemetery. Oh my God. I said, Al, Chris, I said, they soon went out of the cemetery, I tell you. So he said, well, don't look very good, do it. 2 naked men in the cemetery. So I said, I think next time you go in there, I'll stay up here, we'll keep apart. Yeah, and next time we done that, and I just funny because I was still up in the seat and there was my coat hanger, I was still hung up in the tree. I'd left behind. Yeah, but good fun, like.
Brilliant.
Yeah, so that was it, really. But then my motorbike, going back to the Gold Wings, I don't think I've never not had a motorbike. All my life, since I was old enough to ride a bike, I had a bike for to go work or whatever. Like, well, that progressed on to the Gold Wings, and we had 6 Gold Wings in the family at one point. brothers, nephew, son-in-law, and we go off every year. We've been doing that for 25 years back. We go off on the boats. We go Scotland, up in the islands, or we go Wales, Bangor, Anglesey. We went Isle of Wight. We went to France once and Spain on the boats. And that's what we done for all the years, camping. Love it. Used to go miles and miles and loved it, used to. But then as we got older, we would go from here to Kelso, and it's 500 miles from here to Kelso. We would do that in one go. Every time we used to do it. I mean, we was younger than mine.
Yeah.
And as years went by, we was thinking, God, this is a long. Look, we'll stop halfway. So that's what we used to do. We stop halfway, put our tents up. Well, what a bloody performance. Take it all off, put it all up just for one night, pack it all away, and then we got to think that we'll go in a Premier Inn. Just leave the bikes loaded, and then we come out in the morning and off we go. We didn't want to do that. Well, then it got to the point then we said, right, we won't go any further away from home than 4 hours. Because these Scotland trips are, you're talking 10 hours plus, depending on where you're going to go. It's a long old ride, really. So anyway, so that's what, and we could get to the Brecon Beacons in 4 hours from here. And that's where we used to go quite a bit. We went, that was the last place we went. We said, right, this is going to be our last trip now. We're all going to sell their bike. Well, I didn't. They all said, we're selling our bikes now because we aren't using them. So they all come home and sold their bikes. So Terry sold his trike and stuff like that. Well, I didn't. I kept mine. I thought, well, I still like riding mine. Then like you say, I went on. Joe started it off, my grandson, when he was about, I don't know, 12, 13. He said, Grumpy, when I'm 16, I don't want a motorbike, I want a tractor. I went, oh, well, I tell you what we'll do. We'll buy a tractor and restore them together. There it is. So I thought, right, I know what I want. I want a 135, Massey Ferguson 135. So I was talking to Timmy Mitch one day. I said to Tim, I'm looking for a tractor, a 135. I got a 135. He said, I just bought one. I said, where did you get that one then? He said, down Kelly. I said, well, that's Uncle Phil Agar's tractor. Yeah, that's something he said. I said, I used to drive that tractor when I was a teenager. I said, I should have that tractor. Oh, I think you sound. So he said, well, you come and have a look at it if you like. So I went in and had a look at him, and he was rough. He was really rough. But anyway, I pestered him for months, and in the end, he sold them to me. Well, that's the one that's been in the garage now. Me and Joe done and all that. Well, then I got thinking, I made a link box, and Joe used to jump in the back. I'd take up Rundles up to Saturn, and he could ride around the field, up and down the lanes, and there, like with yourself. And I used to drive him back again. And I was thinking, in a minute, he's going to have this tractor. I ain't got nothing. I can have a tractor, see? Well, I built that 1500 Go wing I had. I converted it into a trike. Yeah. And he worked lovely. I had him for a few years, and I thought, well, I got two bikes here, the 1800 and the 1500. So I thought, I'll sell that trike and buy another tractor. Which I did, and that's the 35X I got then as well now. So I got two, one for me and one for Joe.
Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah, so, but like I say, only last year I sold my bike, and that's the first time I've been without a bike pretty much since I was 16. Oh, then Benita bought the Grampy's bike back here, so
yeah, that's brilliant.
Yeah, that's something that, and I've been out Ireland yesterday. That was just quite a lot different than that 1800 Go wing.
Exactly.
Yeah, a lot different. But anyway, just we had some good times away with their bikes. My God, from there we are really.
And you used to cycle a lot.
I did a lot of me and David Creeper, my old school teacher. I used to like cycling anyway, and he used to do these old rides.
Oh yeah.
It's like a cycling club, and you enter and you go to wherever you're going to meet to, right? And they give you a route to go to follow and a card. And on the card will be different places you had to go. And you come up to a T-junction, we'll say, and there'd be a post box over there. And they'd say, what's the last pickup time of the post? And you had to write it in the card to prove that you've been there. Yeah. And you go over these different places and stuff like that. And we went miles. We used to go all over Cornwall and all over Devon. Dartmoor was we went there. It was one they called the Dartmoor Devil, and I tell you what, you could think of other names to call it. Cool, the hills up in, well, you know what Dartmoor's like. Yeah. We did an under K. We should do under K, which is about 60, depending how far it was, but there was anywhere from 60 to 64 miles we would do in that little ride, like. So we went up to the Dartmoor Devil. And normally, the best time we done, me and Bugs, we did that was on Dartmoor, but that was a Sporty, which is a bit Same thing, but you pay a lot more. But you got they put a thing on your wheel and you go over a map when you go out and it times it and stuff like that. Well, when we did that one, and we did it in 4 hours 58 minutes, because they had all these medals. You had a gold medal, a silver medal, and a bronze medal, depending on how quickly you've done it.
Yeah.
And I looked at the times. I said, well, we was in Dartmoor. I said to Bugs, I said, well, when we done the Dartmoor Devil, it took us 8 hours to do that. I said, there's no way we're going to even get a medal, let alone, if we get around that, we wouldn't worry about the medal anyway. And we'd all queued up. There was 1,500 cyclists up there.
Really?
And you had to book in the day before. We went up the day before. We start from Bovey Tracy. And they would levy in a pen of 100. You all are lined up on your bikes, and they shuffle you forward, and when they fill the pen up, they shut you off, they let they go, and they wait 5 minutes, and then you fill up the pen, and another lot, they started going out at 6 o'clock in the morning, and we went out at about 9 o'clock, something like that. It was that many, 1,500 bikes, it was a lot of bikes. Anyway, that was a sportive one. Well, we did that one, like I say, in 4 hours, I got it written down there, 58 men, we had a silver medal.
Right.
I couldn't believe we went up. You carry this little thing up that you took off your bike, and that's recorded your time. Yeah. So you hand your time into the girl who was sitting down there, and she put it in the machine. Oh yeah, you got a silver medal on it. I said, Christ, Bugs! I didn't realize we was nipping on. We was going quite quickly, right? But that was good. We ended up in Princetown. That was the halfway mark. Yeah. Anyway, we done that. Well, then me and David used to go. Sundays we would eat. He was in St. Column living then. He's at Kubert now, but we would meet up. I would go in. I would ride in here at Mitten, and we'd go Truro, right around Brazilian, just for a Sunday ride. That's what we used to do. And when I was on with Al grave digging, if we didn't have nothing on that day, especially summertime, I'd be 5 o'clock. I'd be wet. I couldn't. I'm always wet because I've been shift work. I'm always wet. Jump up on my bike. And I go down Falmouth docks. 7 o'clock in the morning, I'm down there looking over the docks. Right. I'll ring me out, where are you to? I said, I'm down Falmouth looking over the docks. What? And I used to meet Eric's men. I was coming back, but I got about 7, and they would be going towards Falmouth. They were beeping, what are you doing down here? And I used to go down there, go down around the docks, right around Pendennis, and right up the bypass. And I used to go down then to the roundabout and go to Bizzo.
Oh, yes.
And then come up through, and I come out at the top of Chasewater, in around there, cross over the top of Blackwater, in round to St Agnes, right around the Beacon, then back through Perranporth, and then back home, not back here. And I would be home by 10 o'clock. I'd done something like 65 miles, and I'd be home by 10 o'clock. I had the day to myself now. Yeah. Very often. And then I had I bought a racing bike. I still got in there a cube. You can lift it up with your finger, one of these, beautiful bike that was. Anyhow, I was riding here, and I thought, I used to read all the cycle magazines then when we was in the fountain, and I was thinking, I wouldn't mind doing 100 miles in a day. And they all the write-ups about it, they said, if you want to do something like that, do the biggest half before you stop for a break. That was what they said. So Linda went to, I was a silly with her cousin for 3 days, and I worked out, I thought, to goodness, well, I'm going to do that. Well, Linda's away. So I left here at 6 o'clock in the morning. I went out and down the bypass, and I went right up to Camelford, come back through Dunmere, went up round the Nile Drop, back through St. Column, right up through the St. Column Minor. Then I crossed over, went to Quint, and I went down to Brighton Cross, and I went down to Laddock, nearly down to Zillion, turned around and come back here, and I got back here at 12 o'clock, and I'd done 75 miles. And I thought, I cracked now, am I? I only got 25 miles to go now, and this was like 12 o'clock. So I come here, I had a cup of tea, sat down, and started to doze off in the chair. I thought, this is not bloody good. I get out and get moving, and I was full asleep. So then Elaine had a wedding shop, bridal shop in Shora, and I used to very often cycle down there and go in and put my bike in the back and have a cup of tea and a yarn with day. So, and I knew it's 25 miles to go there and back. Yeah. So I thought, right, I'm going down to see Elaine. Went down there, and I come back, and I come up in here, and I'd done 101 miles. Okay. So I thought, I want to do extra miles and make sure I've done 100 miles, Yeah. So I was quite chuffed to do that. I think I've done that. That's someone else saved away, right? Yeah. But me and Dave, well, I could say, we had heart trouble. I didn't cycle. David had to have his ankle fused. He had trouble with his ankle. So we obviously you move on, and he's 82 or something like that now. So, yeah, I still got the bike. I keep the tires pumped up.
Yeah. Brilliant.
Yeah, but, like the tractors have took over now, and the shepherds. I love it. I've done so many years going up and down the motorways at 70 mile an hour with lorries boring by and stuff like that. And you think, I hope that you pass on a lorry now, and you think, I hope that tire don't blow out because he'd knock you off.
Yeah, sure.
So then my little tractor, I trumps around the back roads here, 15 mile an hour, looking around the edges and over the edges, and not a care in the world. Handsome, relaxed, and no problem at all. Yeah. So I'm quite happy doing that now. So.
And you'll be up show soon.
Yeah, Rockhamel show. I'm up there.
Yeah.
Well, Tredinick Rally before that.
Right.
That's the next thing. Well, there's a run next. Funny enough, there's a run next. Well, this Sunday coming for Dave Taylor.
Oh,
They're doing it over Rundles, over Tread, over Point Track. Yeah, I think it's 10 o'clock because me and Benita and Morton's can go. And they're raising funds for the rally, basically. That's what they're paying it for. So, yeah, do that. So, that's what I'm to in my life, really.
Yeah, it's been a good one.
Yeah, I've had quite an adventurous time, really. I've got a good life. I can't grumble.
No,
my God. We, like I say, traveled around the country. My God, we've been miles.
Yeah.
You're looking back at it, you think, God, I've done some traveling.
Yeah.
Really did. But when you go away, all my brothers, and we used to have some laugh. We used to have a gazebo, a 3 meter square gazebo, put it up, put our tents all the way around them, so everybody who come out the door, you're right into the gazebo. First thing we do in the morning is fry up. Yeah. Always had a fry up. And we start singing, and we got it. You can get it now. You can still watch it on YouTube now. We was at Fort William, and we were at the foot of Ben Nevis. That's where the campsite is too. I think it's called Nevis Range, something like that. And there was a pathway down to the pub, and we went out there, and we had the words for Crumble My Own. And Brandon put his phone up on the gate post and sized it all up and got it leveled up right, ready, record. And we sang Crumble My Own with Ben Nevis in the background. Oh. Brilliant. It really was. You can listen to it now too. I look and I think, oh, that was brilliant. It didn't work exactly like that because he put the phone up on the stone, and Mark said to him, he said, that he's going to fall over it now, Ebright. We got halfway through the song and he fell over. Oh, God. So anyway, I stopped again, putting up again. We started again. Got halfway through, and this couple was coming down from the campsite to go down this path, and we was there singing our hearts out, and they was looking at me thinking, what are they doing? Walked straight across in front of the camera. Oh, God. So when we do it again, we did it 3 times. Mark, I'm not going to do it no more. If it don't work this time, I ain't going to do it more. Well, we did do it. It's lovely to listen to that. It really was.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, I don't know what I'm starting to tell you, really.
No, well, I think that's covered enough for today.
Yeah.
And then I'll always come back again.
Yeah, you can anytime.
Yeah. Brilliant.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Barn. Well, if you want to say goodbye to the world.
Yeah, goodbye to the world. See you later.
Proper job. Thank you, mate.
Cheers.
Well, thank you, Barney. Proper job, mate. That was brilliant. I must apologise, though, to everybody listening, because now you can't get that image out of your mind of Barney and Alan Roberts both in a cemetery in their underpants. I'm so sorry about that. I know some people will be scarred for life at that thought. That was booty. For my Cornish word of the week, I thought this week I'd do a little bit different. Instead of relating to anything, I do please and thank you. Now, I don't know if I've done this before or no, but I thought in and out I would do things like that. So, because like people are meeting me in the street and they're saying, Daith da, which is proper. So, if you want to say please, you say Marpleg, which is 2 words, M-A-R, new word, P-L-E-G. Marpleg. And then thank you, you'd say Miraz, which again is 2 words, M-E-U-R, new word, R-A-S, Miraz. So I thought it'd be proper, wouldn't it, if we use that a bit more. I must try and do it myself, but yeah, that would be brilliant, just to keep the language going. Now, for me, dialect of the week, this most probably in Cornish dialect. This is most probably you hear this all over the country, all over the UK. But I thought I would say it after our photograph of when we was going down Padstow yesterday. And what a fine set of legs we had there on site, mainly mine and Neil's. And it reminded me of the saying. I say, I don't think it's Cornish. I think 'tis the UK, but 'tis a booty saying anyway. When you see a pair of legs like that and you say, I've seen better legs hanging out of a bird's nest. I've seen better legs hanging out of a bird's nest. So there we go. Right, well, that's enough for this week. I've had 4 weeks grace where I've been editing Barney, and I always do it. Instead of trying to get another interview, I kind of relax a bit. So now the pressure's on as to whether I can get another interview done be next week or no, because next week is a busy week. We'll have to see how it goes. If not, it might just be me. But there we are. Well, I hope you have a good week. I think the weather is getting better at the weekend. At last. Fingers crossed. But I'll speak to you again next week anyway. Wish you well. Do Guinness. Cernobis Ficken.